maybe. Okay. So as I just said, I've been involved in the National Association and the broader Math Circle community for 10 years. I'd actually started doing math outreach while I was a graduate student at UC Davis, and so my first sort of introduction to the broader national Math Circle community was presenting at the joint meetings in New Orleans in, I put it on there, 2007. And so that was my first sort of glance and sort of a chance to see where my program and my experience fit in the broader outreach of the national effort. It was also a very important year because it was right after Katrina had hit New Orleans. So that happened in 2006. And so after I went to the joint meetings and had this wonderful professional experience, I actually stayed in New Orleans after that and started to take, it was supposed to go forward, sorry, and started to take and work with Habitat for Humanity. So I stayed for a week working with Habitat for Humanity and helped with the rebuilding effort. Amusingly, if you know, like they were asking for volunteers and they said, well, do you have pretty good organization skills? And I was volunteering with my mom and I sort of laughed. I was like, yeah, we're your gals. And so we went and we worked at Habitat Restore, and we had an opportunity to take and meet all of these wonderful, amazing people that were spending time in New Orleans that had come back to rebuild their community. And they were doing that because they believed in that community. And they knew their neighbor, and they wanted their neighbor to take and come back. And as I'm thinking back to what happened in the last 10 years, I realized that's exactly what we have here. We have a community that believes in math outreach, that believes in the joy of mathematics, that does lessons with Cheerios and frosting. This is Dave Ockley. The lesson that will always be in my head is him doing a lesson with Cheerios and frosting. Up there up at the top, we have Peter Tenley at my very first Math Circle session that I ever hosted. And he is now this year starting a Chicago Math Teacher Circle. So this is a community that's growing over the last 10 years. And it's not just been these one or two people. These are all of the people that have either been on the NAMC board, these are the people that have been NAMC directors, and they have started to take and build a community. We started off with Sam Vanderveld's book on the website. We thought we had just these two things, but there was so much more. We're seeing a growth of books. These are just the ones that AMS and MSRI are putting together. But they are just a couple of the resources. These are just a couple of the things that we are seeing grow. We might have some things that are written down. We might have some things on websites. But we're also gathering people. Dave, in his just joy of being the director of NAMC, thought of this idea of Circle on the Road. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to see him bring this joy to all of these 5 different locations. More than 300 different Math Circle leaders have participated. And we've seen this sort of branch into new things. This is the new NAMC MC MAP program that's in its second year. Again, we're seeing it broaden. We're seeing it go across the country as more and more people get involved. And we're just a taste. There is so many different math outreach projects out there that I have seen grow up over the last 10 years. I love Shannon's Beast Academy, and I love what everyone is doing with it. I love Talking Stick. I love natural math. I love these things, and I love the fact that we aren't developing in isolation, but in fact are taking and working together. We have different things that we can provide, and we aren't doing it by ourselves. We aren't alone. As a result, we've seen a growth of math circles across the country. This is our best record that we have right now in regards to the active student circles, the active teacher circles, the active student and teacher circles, all of these different programs across the country. And this data is going to get more and more accurate. This is just based on what we have, but we know that we're having impact. And on all those big national details, what we need to look at is Griffin. Griffin has been in Math Circle for 5 weeks. Griffin tried soccer, it didn't quite work. Griffin tried Boy Scouts, didn't quite work. But Math Circles he talks about all week long until he gets to go back on Tuesday. We got Lorraine. Lorraine introduced to Math Circles through Diana White, and when she talks about it, she glows. She talks about the impact that it's had. And if I can also talk about June Jordan School for Equity, which has a San Francisco Math Circle site. June Jordan has been recently in the news for some not great things, but as a school, it's an amazing place. And Math Circle takes and brings all of those things to light because it is a solution-based community, and that is perfect for Mass Circle. And so Mass Circle provides this safe space, can never be more important than it has been in the last 2 weeks for June Jordan. And I think that it's amazing that we had a tool by which to provide that space. But I also want to take and remind us that through all of these projects, there's been more than 20,000 hours of Mass Circle programs in the last 10 years. That's completely an underestimate, I'm sure, but just based on the numbers of circles, there's been at least 20,000 hours. And I think through all that process, one of the things we don't stop and do enough is thank yourself. Okay? So we had you sign this thank you card because we wanted to say to you, thank you. We wanted to take and stop and take a moment realizing that you are not alone and you are appreciated. Because so often we are asking this and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, and we just want to stop and say thank you. And so that's it. That's our last sort of comments for Circle on the Road 2016, and thank you very much.